Hello guys, today we're going to finish 2.5 transformations of functions. Let's take a look at vertical stretching and shrinking graphs. If you look at this graph, the first graph we're talking about the stretching c greater than 1. Okay, c is just some constant. If c is greater than 1, that means our transformation gonna get this taller, vertically stretched. Okay, so how we do that, we're going to multiply each of these y coordinates by c. Okay, and then if we have c is between 0 and 1, we're going to have vertically shrunk by multiply each of y coordinates by c as well. Okay, so this is something you need memorize it. Okay, let's go ahead and look at first example and see how we apply this. Example 1, given y equal to f of x below and the graph g of x equal to 4 times f of x. What's our c is equal to 4, right? Because that is my constant, that is my c is equal to 4, then I realize this is going to be greater than 1. When c is greater than 1, in the end our graph should be taller, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use original points. So I'm just going to start with the left and then to the right, okay? This is just all the points here given to us. So what we're going to do is we're just going to multiply all the y coordinates by c. So we're not going to touch anything for the x. And then now you're just going to be simplifying. You're going to have make it 4, 0, and then we finish the rest really quick. So once we finish this, and then we're going to plug in all these 5 points. Remember, we're predicting the graph should be taller because c is greater than 1. It's vertically stretched, okay? So we're going to have negative 4, 0. We're going to plug in all those points really quick. So then I'm just going to connect these points and see what look like. Okay, I just connected those points. So I'm going to label this really quick. Okay, so that is my all the points. I just plug it in. So example 2, we have used the graph of y equal to f of x to graph g of x 1/2 f of x plus 1. So in this case, first we got to think, alright, so we do have 1/2 outside, right? We also, another thing is we realize there's not only f of x, we actually have x plus 1. From the previous lesson, we have, okay, so we have moving left c units, horizontal left 1 units in this case. Then we go to look, okay, so here we have a c equals 1/2. That means my c is between 0 and 1. So go back and look at the rule again. So we said if our c is between 0 and 1, this should be vertically shrunk. So let's work on the horizontal transformation first. So I'm going to start with the original points. I just write down those 5 points really quickly, okay? So since we moved to the left, so let's use the blue color, okay? Everything just moved to the left 1 unit. It's very, very straightforward, okay? So we're going to connect the graph really quick. Okay, I just moved this everything to the left of 1 unit. But if we want to see what's happening to the coordinates, so basically what you are doing is subtract 1. Alright, you left your y alone. Everything for x you subtract 1. So we didn't change up down, so that's the reason why your y stayed the same. Alright guys, so all I did, since we're moving to the left and right, that's moving the left, that's why I subtract 1 every single term. Okay, so then I get my blue graph that is moving the left. So I'm going to label this all the points really quick. Okay, so once we have this, we finish the horizontal shifting. So then we're going to look at the 1/2 right here. So since we mentioned earlier, when you have this case, all you have to multiply is the y coordinates. Okay, again, your x doesn't change this time. You're just going to multiply every single y coordinate by 1/2. Once we have this, we're going to simplify it. Alright, I just realized I labeled this wrong because that was -2, -2. Okay, so I'm gonna fix it really quick. They should be -3, -1. Alright guys, I just labeled the points. Now I'm just gonna connect all the points and then finish the graph. Okay guys, I just finished the graph. Okay, so remember this is the g of x, our final solution. So I use the red color. So let me just turn it to the right color so that way you know this graph come from here. Okay, so anyway, that is your final answer. So I'm just going to label this. That is my g of x. Okay, so that is how you do this type of question. So here we have a horizontally stretching and shrinking graphs. Okay, so this is very similar. So if we see it's greater than 1 right here, and then the graph, all right, f of cx is the graph of this f of x horizontally shrunk by dividing each of its x coordinates by c. So remember, this time we're dealing with dividing, right, instead of multiply, dividing each x coordinate by c. Okay, so be careful on this. And then if we have c is between 0 and 1, and then what we're going to do is horizontally stretch by dividing each x coordinate by 1. And then from the graph, you realize the second one is stretching out, okay, horizontally. Okay, let's go ahead and look at example 3 and see how we do this. Example 3, we have a horizontally stretching and shrinking of a graph. Using the graph of f of x, alright, it's given to us, and then obtain each of the following graphs. So here we have the first one. We're going to have a part A. It's a g of x equal to f of 2x, which means this is a f of cx form. So in this case, we're going to just matching, alright, our c in this case equal to 2. I just quickly write down all the points. And then we're going to say is we'll have to divide by c, right? The only thing we're dividing is the x coordinates. So we're going to use -4, that's my x coordinates, divide by c, my c is 2. And then we're going to y coordinate, leave it alone. Okay, everything else exactly same. So we're going to use your x coordinate, divide by 2. That is your c. So remember, this is your c. Okay, we're dealing with x coordinates. So I just finished it really quick, and then we're going to simplify this. So we just graph this. So we're going to have -2, 0. And then we also need -1, 4, 0, 0. And then 1, -2, 2, 0. So I'm going to graph this. I'm going to try my best. So that is for our part A. So I just plug in the points and then I graph it. And then we're doing the same thing for the part B exactly. Okay, so then you are going to realize that will be stretching out. So I'm going to skip part B. So it's a very similar concept. So let's go ahead and look at this table summary of transformation. So basically 2.5, we have learned all these transformations. Okay, so you definitely want to pause this video and take a look for each piece. So before we start next example, right here is very, very important. When we're dealing with a function involving more than one transformation, can be graphed by performing transformations in the following order. So we need to follow this order. Okay, so we're going to have first one, horizontal shifting. You always start with horizontal shifting, and then you're going to dealing with stretching or shrinking, and then you do a reflection, and then you're doing vertical shifts. Okay, you must follow this, because when you're dealing with complicated questions, you won't get it right if you don't follow this order. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on one of this. So we have example 4. Using the graph, which we just used for previous question, we want to graph y equals -1/2 f of x minus 1 plus 3. Okay, this looks pretty complicated, so we're going to start with y equal to -1/2. So this is what we want to do. Okay, I'm just going to rewrite it right here. So remember, our step 1 right here tells us we have to deal with horizontal shifting. Okay, so I'm going to do this with step by step. So step 1, we have to deal with horizontal shifting. So when we're dealing with horizontal shifting, we have to look right here. Okay, -1, that means we have to move in this shift to the right 1. Okay, remember this is step 1, shifts right side 1 when you have this x minus c form. And then we're going to deal with second is stretching or shrinking. And then we're dealing with step 3 is reflection. So here we're going to have the step 3. And then we're going to finally dealing with the vertical. Then step 4 is vertical. In this case, remember that just going to be up 3. This is the easy ones. All right, left and right is very easy. And then you have to go back to look, okay, 1/2. Okay, this is outside. So step 2, that means we have to multiply the y coordinate by c, right? So you can remind yourself a little bit. This is going to be multiplied by the y coordinate by c. And then here, step 3, remember that's a reflection. So it's outside the negative f of x form. We're going to go back and look here. That will be reflection about the x-axis. All right. So that means you have to reflect that piece. So the steps are exactly same. So you start with the original graph. Okay. And then you're moving this everything to the right side one. Okay. So if I want to follow this, then I'm going to use the red color. Okay. I'm just going to match it. That will be everything moved to the right side one. Okay, so that is step 1, all right, horizontal right side 1. And then we're dealing with step 2 is the green color. So we have to multiply the y coordinates by c. Okay, we'll look at each part. So here, again, it's very similar to what we just have done, okay. So, all right, guys, if you look at this really quick, I just write down all the points right here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the y coordinates by c. In this case, your c is 1/2, right? That will be -3. You don't touch anything for your x coordinate. And then you're going to have this new set. Alright, guys, I just used the green color right here. Obviously, it's not perfect. It's more far from perfect, but something like this. Because you know when c is between 0 and 1, this graph should be shrunk. Okay, in this case, you just look, it's not as tall as the pink color. So that is for step 2. So step 3 is we're going to reflect about the x-axis. All right, so remember we said it's like a lake right here. You think about your x-axis right here. All right, thinking about this is like a lake. And then we're just going to reflect this whole thing. Remember, we're reflecting this green one, okay, the green color. So then once you have this purple color, that's step 3, we finish reflecting. And then from there, step 4, you're just going to move up 3. If you look and realize that when we're reflecting about x-axis, all you're doing is switch the sign for your y coordinates right there. Okay, so that's where that comes from. So then finally, once you have this everything, and then with final answer, we're going to moving up 3. We'll move this everything up 3, and then you're going to have your final answer. So I'm going to complete this. So finally, we finish this. All right. So the yellow part is your final answer. That is the y equal to -1/2 f of x minus 1 and plus 3. Okay. So you finally finish this question. Again, it's look a little bit messy, and then I didn't write the last part because moving up down kind of really straightforward. Okay. Let's look at your textbook. Your textbook gave you this graph transformation. All right. We're doing just in one graph, but you look at right here, it's exactly the same concept. Okay, so here I give you the graph. Okay, from here, so from here we start the original graph, and then we moved this to everything to the right side one, just like we have done. And then from there we multiply y coordinates by c. This is where the green come from. and then we did a reflection, and then from there we're moving up 3. Okay, so this is a little bit more clear for step by step, but the concept we have done is exactly the same. Okay, so a little bit messy. Let's look at this example 6. The graph of G is obtained from F through a sequence of transformations. Find the equation for G of X. Okay, so here is the homework question. I find that many students struggle this, so let's take a look. So what they're saying is this is a given, all right, given to you. So we're going to have a G of X is already we obtained from the F, all right, did the transformation. So they given to you a graph and then want you to look for the equation. It's just a backwards. You have to think of this, all right? If you look at this color, G of X, definitely, at least you should realize, okay, we have some reflection. Also, we have some moving to the right side. So here we have to recall, we have the order of combination transformation, okay? So we have horizontal, and I skipped the stretching or shrinking because in this case, there's nothing involved. They really give you basic graph. They're not giving you this complicated C1/2 you have to deal with. So for this type of question, you don't have to worry about stretching or shrinking. So that's why I just write the first one is horizontal shift, and then reflecting, and then vertical shifting. Anyway, let's take a look what's going on. So horizontal shift, first we're going to observe. Okay, so see if there's anything did horizontal shift. And I realize, okay, it seems to me this moving from this point to right side 6. And then I realize this almost look like a lake because we have a reflecting. Okay, so in step 2, even though it didn't show you guys, so once we had this, okay, we move the 6 units right here. So that's I can thinking about this imagination in my head. Then I realized, okay, we also had this reflecting about your x-axis. All right, so we're gonna say reflect the x-axis. So once we have there, and then I can observe from here we're moving 1, 2, 3, 4 up. Okay, up 4. So this is from my observation. And now I have to write the equation. So I can write, okay, G of X is equal to, so remember the original graph, all right? So remember the given to us is f of x equal to square root of x. Okay, so don't forget that piece. So by follow the rule, we have to realize right 6, that means that has to be x right side, that will be minus 6. Okay, that is f of x, right, parentheses, there's the whole thing, and minus 6 form. And then from there, we'll look at the reflecting x-axis, that means your negative sign is at front, right? And then from up 4, that means it's a plus 4. Okay, so each piece you need to make sure you know where those come from. That is your final answer for this piece. This video become a little bit long. Thank you so much, and see you guys next time.